Nobody knew why the mayor did it. There was no storm, no villain, no alien invasion, not even a loose tiger. But at exactly 3:14 p.m., every screen in the city flashed red. The sirens went off, and a giant announcement blasted across the map. Mandatory citywide curfew. Go home immediately. Do not ask questions. And somehow, that made everything way worse. I was standing outside the pizza shop doing absolutely nothing productive, which in this city is basically a full-time job, when the emergency alarm started screaming like somebody in City Hall hit the wrong button and refused to admit it. Everybody froze. The cashier dropped a pizza. A guy on a scooter crashed into a mailbox, and 3 kids in matching suits walked out of the bank holding briefcases and immediately started running. Then the mayor's face appeared on the giant billboard downtown. He looked sweaty, he looked serious, and he looked like he had never made a good decision in his life. Then he said, in the most dramatic voice possible, "For your safety, all citizens must return to their homes immediately. The city is under curfew until further notice." That was it. No explanation, no details, not even one fake reason. Just a curfew, like we were all supposed to hear that and say, yeah, that makes total sense. The entire server lost its mind. People started making up their own explanations instantly. One girl in a pink convertible yelled that it was definitely a zombie thing. A bacon hair started screaming that the water was cursed. A rich avatar with angel wings said her dad owned half the city and even he didn't know about this, which honestly made it sound even worse. In less than 30 seconds, the rumors got completely out of control. Someone said the mayor saw a ghost in the courthouse. Someone else said the mall food court had been declared a biohazard. Another person claimed the fountain downtown was launching people into the sky. Then one guy in a business suit leaned in and whispered, dead serious, that he heard the mayor got embarrassed at brunch and shut down the whole city. And somehow, that one sounded the most believable. Meanwhile, every NPC in town started acting like the world was ending. The crossing guard was blowing a whistle at empty sidewalks. The librarian was boarding up the library like knowledge itself had become dangerous. The gym trainer was doing push-ups in the street, yelling, "This is what I trained for," which raised a lot of questions. Because what exactly was he trained for? Panic cardio? Then the fake admins showed up. Every Roblox city has them. Those random players who buy one dark outfit, one pair of sunglasses, and a helicopter game, and suddenly they think they're the federal government. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the town square, and out jumped 6 players wearing matching jackets that said Curfew Enforcement Division. That was not a real department. One of them had a traffic cone on his head. Another one was carrying a fish, and the leader had a mustache drawn on his face like he created authority 5 minutes ago. He grabbed a megaphone and shouted, "Anyone found outside after curfew will be escorted home by force." Then he tried to get back into the SUV and accidentally sat in the fountain. Now the crowd was even more confused, because on one hand, he looked ridiculous, but on the other hand, that was still more professionalism than most people in City Hall. People started sprinting home. Cars were flying through intersections. A family of 5 somehow got into one tiny smart car and drove directly into a tree. The hospital parking lot filled up with people who weren't injured but wanted to be somewhere official. And in the middle of the road, a noob stood there holding a hot dog and screaming, "I wasn't built for this." Honestly, same. The curfew should have made the city quiet, but instead it turned everyone into neighborhood detectives. People started spying on each other through windows. Everyone suddenly had opinions. My neighbor across the street was standing on his porch in a bathrobe with binoculars like he was guarding nuclear secrets. He pointed at me and shouted, "Why are you still outside?" And I shouted back, "Why are you still outside?" He paused for a second and just said, "Fair," then stayed outside anyway. 2 houses down, a family was having a full emotional breakdown because one of their kids got locked out right before the curfew started. The mom was yelling, "Climb through the garage." The dad was yelling, "No, that's how raccoons think." And the kid was just standing there eating chips like this happened every week. Across the street, a rich mansion owner had hired 2 bodyguards just to protect her driveway. Protect it from what? Nobody knew. But she kept yelling, "No civilians near the marble." Near the marble. That was the moment I realized this curfew wasn't creating order, it was just making weird people even weirder. At that point, I had to know what was actually going on. Because if a man locks down an entire Roblox city for no reason, there are only 3 possibilities. 1. Something dangerous happened. 2. Something embarrassing happened. Or 3, the mayor just discovered how the emergency system works and got a little too excited. So I did what any responsible citizen would do. I ignored the law immediately and went downtown. The streets were almost empty now. Streetlights were flickering. Police barriers were set up in random places that made no sense. One was blocking a sandwich shop. Another one was protecting a bench. And somehow City Hall had like 18 guards around it, all of whom looked about 12 years old. I snuck around the back, climbed onto a decorative hedge, then onto a statue, then onto a balcony that definitely was not supposed to be accessible. And that's when I heard shouting coming from the mayor's office. This was not normal official yelling. This sounded personal, very stupid. I moved closer to the window and heard the mayor pacing back and forth inside his office. Yelling! I said nobody leaves their house until we find him. Then another voice said, "Sir, with respect, you cannot put 200 citizens on curfew because your dog ran away." There was silence for a second. Then the mayor slammed his desk and yelled, "He is not my dog. He is the deputy of morale." I almost fell off the balcony. That was it. That was the reason. No emergency, no threat, no disaster. The mayor had locked down the entire city because his tiny fluffy dog had escaped during a ribbon-cutting ceremony, and he didn't want anyone interfering with the search. The whole city was on curfew because of a missing Pomeranian wearing a little tie. I was still staring through the window in disbelief when the office door burst open and one of the fake curfew officers ran in and gave the worst salute I've ever seen in my life. He shouted, "Sir, we have reports of suspicious movement near the bakery." The mayor turned around so fast he almost spun out. "Is it him?" he yelled. The officer hesitated and said, "It is a small creature in formal wear." The mayor gasped and shouted, "Mr. Biscuit!" Then every adult in the room ran out like the fate of the server depended on it. The next 5 minutes were the dumbest thing I have ever seen in Roleplay. The emergency sirens changed. And instead of sounding scary, they started playing this weird, cheerful little melody, which somehow made everything feel even more unhinged. The giant billboard updated to say, "Stay indoors. Official canine recovery in progress." People started opening their windows. One guy yelled, "Wait, it's about a dog." Another screamed, "I missed work for this." Then a man in pajamas walked into the street and yelled, "I knew this was rich people stuff." And then Mr. Biscuit appeared. He came flying out of an alley wearing a tiny blue necktie and moving at the speed of pure disrespect. The whole city saw him at once, and every person who had been trapped inside for the last hour immediately snapped. Suddenly, the streets exploded. People poured out of their houses. Cars started chasing the dog. A police helicopter spawned and instantly crashed into a billboard. The fake admin with the fish dove into a bush yelling, "I've got visual." He did not have visual. Mr. Biscuit ran through the grocery store, through the bank, through the car dealership, and somehow ended up on the roof of the hospital. How a tiny dog got onto a hospital roof remains one of the greatest mysteries in city history. At one point, the mayor himself was running down Main Street holding a dog treat and screaming, "Mr. Biscuit, you are a public servant." That sentence should never have been spoken by anybody, ever. Then, Mr. Biscuit jumped into a convertible full of teenagers, stole a taco, and bailed out at a red light. And at that point, the entire city started cheering, not because they wanted him caught, but because now everyone was rooting for the dog. He had become bigger than the law. He had become a tiny, fluffy symbol of resistance. Eventually, after causing a level of chaos, usually reserved for Mr. Biscuit was finally captured near the fountain after being distracted by a dropped chicken nugget and an unattended purse. The mayor held him up like he had just saved civilization itself. The curfew was lifted. The roads reopened, and City Hall posted an official message saying, "Today's precautionary measures were taken out of an abundance of caution," which is politician language for we did something completely insane and now we need nicer words for it. But the weirdest part happened later that night. After everything calmed down, I went back to the town square. The streets were empty, the fountain was still overflowing, and the giant billboard downtown flickered one more time. For just 1 second, the emergency system glitched back on, and a message flashed across the screen. "Curfew test successful." Then it disappeared. So now I'm sitting here wondering, did the mayor really shut down the entire city because his dog ran away? Or did he just use the dog as an excuse to see how much control he had over the server? Because if that's true, then Mr. Biscuit didn't escape. He exposed something, and somehow that is way more concerning. If you want more insane Roblox stories like this, subscribe, like the video, and comment the dumbest reason a Roblox server should go on lockdown, because after this, I do not trust any mayor with a mustache, a megaphone, or a dog in a tie.